Hello, Jyotish patrons. Welcome to Jyotish Kasi's YouTube channel. This channel is meant for those who seek to lead an intelligent life, balancing well between free will and destiny. Do click on the subscribe button and the like button and the bell icon to enjoy more such useful videos in this channel. And yes, please do not forget to share this video with your friends and family. So without further ado, let me get into the presentation for today. Okay, so today's presentation is about Jupiter's transit and the effect of this transit on your horoscope, on your rashi. As you all know, Jupiter is transiting from Aquarius to Pisces on April 13th, 2022, and this transit is going to last until April 22nd, 2023. So this will have a material impact on your horoscope, and this presentation will walk you through, what those effects would be. So, as a prelude, as we all know, Jupiter's transit to Meena or Pisces Rashi that is happening on April 13th, 2023, and which will last until April 23rd, 2023 overall, is a welcome transit. Since Meena Rashi is a Rashi that is owned by Jupiter. So imagine yourself, right? If you're coming to your own home after a long travel, how you feel, okay? You obviously feel comfortable, So that is how Jupiter feels like when it comes to Pisces. However, the position of Moon in your natal horoscope will determine if this transit is really favorable to you or otherwise. So the effect of Jupiter's transit to Meena Rashi should also be considered relative to the transit of Saturn. The reason for that is this. You see, Jupiter, when it transits, and when you look at your horoscope from your natal moon, that is a moon in your horoscope, wherever it is residing, from that position, if Jupiter is 2nd, 5th, 7th, 9th, or 11th, it is extremely favorable. Okay. So whatever is the transit today, if that happens to be the second house, the fifth house, the seventh house, ninth house, or 11th house, from where the natal moon is located in your individual horoscope, it is extremely favorable. However, if there is any other planet in, let us say, house number 12, house number 4, house number 3, house number 10, and house number 8, these transits will actually block the good effects. For example, if Jupiter is in the second house from your natal moon in your horoscope, it's very favorable. But if there is another planet which is transiting the 12th house, that's going to block the favorable effects of this second. That's what is important. Similarly here, if Jupiter is transiting the 5th house, very favorable. But if there is another planet on the 4th house, that will block the good effects. Same thing here. If Jupiter is in the 7th, very favorable. If some other planet on the 3rd, it's a blocking. Jupiter is in the 9th, very favorable. But if some other planet is in the 10th, it will block. Jupiter is in the 11th, very favorable. Again, if there is any other planet in the 8th, that will block. So why am I telling that the transit of Saturn needs to be considered? Actually, these blocking houses are common in the sense that any planet transiting these blocking houses will block the good effects of Jupiter. However, the reason we want to consider Saturn is because Saturn remains in a Rashi for 2.5 years. So if it is in one of these blocking houses, then it's going to block the entire good effects of Jupiter. Okay, so you will come to understand this. I've made it actually very simple in the slides coming in as to how you should look at this. Okay, So this presentation will give you an overview of the effect of Jupiter's transit on each individual Rashi from April 13th, 2022 to April 22nd, 2023. So this is the space of time when Jupiter is going to remain all the time in Pisces. Okay, so what are the key factors that we need to consider, right, when you're also looking at at the effects of the transit of Jupiter, and when you want to really see how is it affecting me, right, in your horoscope? What are the key factors? First of all, you need to determine your Rashi. Okay, this is very simple. This is the sign where Moon is located in your birth horoscope. So in your horoscope, look at Moon and look at the Rashi where it is located. That is your Rashi for the purpose of this presentation. Okay. So for example, if Moon is in your horoscope is located in Tula, your Rashi is Libra or Tula. That's your Rashi. If Moon is located in Leo, then your Rashi is Simha. Similarly, if Moon is located in Cancer, your Rashi is Cancer, okay, or Karaka. Okay, that's how you determine your Rashi. Okay. Second, stay away from transit phobia. Okay, that's very important, because you will, in this presentation, you will know what is the negative as well as the positive effects of Jupiter. Don't be swayed either way, okay? Because please remember that the effect of transit on any horoscope tells only about 10 to 15% of the whole story, okay? The overall life experience will be determined by the static promise of your horoscope, as well as the dasha and antardasha that you're currently in. So if the transit points to extreme negativity or positivity, please do consult a good astrologer for proper guidance. Okay. Third factor, practical relativity. That is what I spoke earlier also. Always determine the effect of Jupiter's transit relative to the transit of Saturn. The good effects of particular transit of Jupiter is sometimes blocked, as I mentioned in the previous slide, by unfavorable transit of Saturn. Similarly, an unfavorable transit of Jupiter can be uplifted by a protected transit of Saturn. Okay. So I've made all this very simple Rashi by Rashi. So don't worry about getting into the details, but these are the key factors that you need to keep in mind. Now, what's happening here is that there are, in this particular 12-month of Jupiter's transit, okay, there are three segments of time period, okay. The reason we have three segments of time period of the 12 months is because in between these 12 months, Saturn is shifting to one Rashi, and then it is coming back to the Rashi where it is right now, okay. So that is the reason you have to look at that. There is a block of about 6 months where the transit effects are very different. Okay, so that's what you need to look at. So the segment one is April to July. This is where Saturn is actually transiting to another Rashi. Okay, then it goes back to where it is until January 17th, and January 17th it is coming back to Kumbha Rashi. Okay, well, we will talk about this also and how it is affecting Jupiter's transit or the effect of Jupiter's transit. So for every Rashi, these three segments I've laid down, okay, very clearly, so that there is no confusion. So in rest of the presentation, I'll be going Rashi by Rashi to let you know what will be the effect of Jupiter's transit in your Rashi in relation to Saturn's transit also. Okay. So either you can go through the whole presentation, which will be for the next 20 or 25 minutes, or if you're interested only in determining what is the effect in your Rashi, then you can jump to that particular slide. Okay. So let me start with Mesha Rashi. Okay. So for every in every slide, what I have done is that I have first headlined it with the effect of Jupiter's transit on that particular rashi, such as the Aries rashi here. Okay. And also, sometimes you do not know your rashi, but you know your nakshatra. Even with that, you can easily determine what your rashi is. For example, if your nakshatra is Ashwini, Bharini, or Kritika, your rashi is Aries. However, Kritika's only one padam, or the one leg, is in Aries. So if you're a Kritika nakshatra, you need to know which padam is your nakshatra in. Okay. So if you're in first pada, then you are in Aries. So essentially, if you're Ashwini, Bharani, or the first pada of Kritika, then your Rashi is Aries or Mesha, and the effect is like this. Okay. So what I have done here is that uh, I have laid out where is Jupiter actually transiting in your particular horoscope. What is the effect of Jupiter's transit? Okay. And then I have related that to where is Saturn transiting, and where is Saturn's effect. Is this overall a good effect or not a good effect, whether it is negative or it is positive, Saturn's as well as Jupiter's. So this way you can determine for each segment what is the effect of this Jupiter's transit in your Rashi. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the effect of Jupiter's transit on each Rashi now. So to begin with, let's look at the effect of Jupiter's transit on Mesha Rashi or Aries Rashi. So the nakshatras that come under Aries Rashi are Ashwini, Bharini and Kritika. But for Kritika, it is only the first pada which comes under Aries or Mesha Rashi. So if you are of any of these three nakshatras, you will be Mesha Rashi, except that if you are Kritika, it's only the first padam that comes under this Rashi. So what is the effect of Jupiter's transit on this Mesha Rashi or Aries Rashi? Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have to look at these effects in three different segments. Okay, those segments being segment 1, which is April 13th to July 11th, segment 2, July 12th to December 31st, and segment 3 is actually January 2023 to April 22nd, 2023. I think it's very important that we pay attention that the next 12 months, the Jupiter's transit needs to be, looked at in these three segments. For most part, you will see that segment 1 and segment 3 will have the same effect. There is a change in segment 2. The reason for that is Saturn, which is in Capricorn at this time, will be moving to Kumbha, okay, or Aquarius between April and July. Okay, and then it comes back to Capricorn in retrogression between July 12th and December. In fact, early January, I would say. So this segment needs to be viewed separately, and then the third segment, when it goes back to Kumbha, it needs to be viewed separately. Okay, so for every Rashi, we will be looking at the effects in these three segments. So coming to Mesha Rashi, right, the Jupiter's transit to the 12th house is actually a negative. The reason for that is 12th house is a house of expenses, and Jupiter is actually going there, and that's not a good transit. However, for you, the good news is that Saturn, is when it transits to Kumbha, it's transiting to your 11th house, which is a very positive transit. So this will offset the negative transit of Jupiter to some extent. However, in segment 2, when Saturn retrogrades back to Capricorn, both are negative. So you need to be very careful in this segment. And again, in segment 3, there is some positivity from Saturn, but Jupiter's effect is overall negative. So Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it's transiting to your 12th house. this is a negative transit. Overall, this will result in increased expenditure and health issues too. However, note that in segment 1 and 3, Saturn is protecting you, because when it moves to Kumbha or Aquarius, it is protecting you from the 11th house. So the most cautious time for you would be actually segment 2 between July and December. Exercise restraint in financial affairs, take good care of health. The significations that are negatively affected by Jupiter in the 12th house, basically 12th house, as I mentioned, is a Vyayasthana, which means expenditure, loss of wealth, hospital, isolation, bed comforts, foreign alliance, foreign travel, etc. All these are affected. Okay. Health, stress levels will increase during the segment 2. Take particular care of health during this segment. Relationships, communications will take wrong directions. Expect conflicting situations with spouse and family members. If you're single, segment 1 and 3 are favorable to tie a knot. Totally avoid segment 2. So in segment 2 is when you need to be most cautious. Okay. From a point of view of career, maintain low profile until January 2023. Things will improve after that time period. For finances, this transit is a loss-making transit of Jupiter, so be conservative with your finance at least until January 2023. So this is the overall effect of Jupiter's transit on Mesha Rashi or Aries Rashi. It's a bit of a mixed bag, especially the segment 2, you need to be very careful. Now, let's come back. Let's come to the effect of Jupiter's transit on Taurus Rashi. Okay, so Taurus Rashi nakshatras are Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashira. However, pay attention to this. Kritika, only the second, third, and fourth pada of Kritika. Rohini, complete nakshatra, is in Taurus or Kumbha, Taurus or Vrishabha, and Mrigashira, which is only the two segments, rather the two padas of Mrigashira or in Taurus, okay, which is first and second. So if you are Kritika, second, third, or fourth, Rohini any padam, or Mrigashira first and second, then your Rashi is Taurus, and the effects that you're going to read in this slide is going to affect it, is applicable to you. Okay. Again, a reminder that the effect of Jupiter's transit needs to be considered in 3 segments. Segment 1 is April 13th to July 11th, 2022. Segment 2 is July 12th to December 31st, 2022. Segment 3 is from December 31st or January 1st to April 22nd, 2023. Okay. Here again, you see that in segment 1, the effect of Jupiter's transit is very positive. Why? Because it is transiting your 11th house. That's why it's very positive. Whereas the Saturn's transit to the 10th house, okay, is not positive. It is a negative. Okay. However, consider this very positive effect. Okay, it will prevail over this negative effect. Same thing with segment 2 and also with segment 3, because segment 2, Saturn is in your 9th house. That's also a negative. However, Jupiter's transit to the 11th house is very positive. Okay, overall, this is going to be a very positive one. Summary. So what's the summary of what I just said? Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to your 11th house. This is a very positive transit for you. Overall, this will result in increased income and heavy or healthy rather finances and relationships. Although Saturn's transit, as I said, is negative, at least it's not blocking the positive effect of Jupiter. That's what is important here. Okay. So significations positively affected by Jupiter, 11th house. 11th house is Labhasthana, gains, easy money, acquisitions, fulfillment of desires, rewards, recognition, achievements, social circle, children's wedding, etc. Okay. Health will show improvement. This is also a good time to maintain sound health and healthy habits. All right. Relationships, expect new relationships to develop and results will be gainful through your relationships. So pursue and develop relationships outside the business and job circle. If you're single, you're very likely to meet a suitable life partner in a social circle. If you're newly wedded, welcome the new member in a family. That is what I'm hinting at here is a childbirth. Career, you will get lucky break in career. If you're thinking of a change, this is a good time to do so. And finances, as I mentioned, 11th house is a labhasthana. So this transit is a profit-making transit for Jupiter. You will see gainful returns in finances coming through profitable associations. Okay. Take profits off the table and do not let greed creep in. All right. So this is a very positive transit for Taurus Rashi. Now, effect of Jupiter's transit on Mithuna Rashi, Gemini Rashi. Okay. So Mithuna Rashi people, your nakshatra is Mrigashira, only the third and fourth padam. Okay. Ardra, any padam. And Punarvasu, which is the first, second, and third padam. Okay. These are the nakshatras for Mithuna Rashi or Gemini Rashi. Again, once again, a reminder, okay, consider the effect of Jupiter's transit in three segments. Segment 1 from April 13th to July 11th. Segment 2 from July 12th to December 31st. Segment 3 from January to April 22nd, 2023. Okay. Now, for those Mithuna Rashi people, right here, Jupiter is transiting the 10th house, and that's a negative. Okay. And already Saturn is, in a transit to the 9th house, which is also a negative, right? Again, the segment 2, Jupiter's transit anyway is a negative, and Saturn, when it retrogrades to Capricorn, it's going to the 8th house. So that's again a further negative. So what's happening here is that there is a double negative, same thing in segment 3. So in summary, if your Rashi is Mithuna and then Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to the 10th house. This is a negative transit for you. Overall, this will result in increased stress levels in career, finances, and relationships. Okay. Saturn's transit is also on the negative side. That's what is important to note here. So for the next 12 months, extra cautious, obviously do consult a good astrologer for remedial measures. So what are the significations that are negatively affected by Jupiter? Okay. 10th house. 10th house is a karma sthana, which means career, sources of income, status in job, royal honors, political powers, etc. All these things are part of this. Basically, it's a career house, 10th house. So health expenses related to health issues will go up. Take care if you have an existing ailment. Practicing yoga will be of great help. Relationships, a conflict within family members is imminent during this unfavorable transit of Jupiter. Be careful with what you communicate to whom. Maintain low profile with a let go attitude. Career will be most impacted. You will likely be a victim of internal conspiracy in a job environment. So evaluate your business relationship well and do not take chances on blind faith and career. Career changes is not suggested during this transit of Jupiter. Finances, avoid commitments to large expenditure during the next 12 months. Plan for unexpected expenditure that will also likely increase stress levels. Consult a good astrologer for remedial measures for finances and health. Okay, so overall, I would say for Gemini Rashi, it's a transit where you need to be very conscious. Okay, and do consult a very good astrologer for proper guidance. Cancer. So the effect of Jupiter's transit on Karaka or Cancer Rashi. The nakshatras that come under Cancer Rashi are Punarvasu, which is a fourth pada only, okay, or Pushya, any padam, and Aslesha, any padam, okay. So Punarvasu, first padam, Pushya, and Aslesha. If your nakshatra is one of these three, then you are affected by this particular transit. So, what is the effect of Jupiter's transit on your Rashi? Firstly, Jupiter is transiting the ninth house, okay, which is a very positive transit because ninth house is a Bhagyasthana, all right. However, just a note of caution that Saturn is transiting to your eighth house when it comes to Kumbha Rashi, okay. So Ashtama Shani is not a very good transit, okay. So be cautious about that. However, the good news is that it is really not blocking the good effects of Jupiter. Okay. So same thing with segment 2. It is when it is retreating back or retrograding, transiting to 7th house Saturn. It is also a negative, especially from a spousal perspective in this segment. Be cautious on that angle. However, Jupiter's continued Bhagya will help you. All right. The effect of segment 3 is exactly the same as the effect of segment 1. So in summary, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to your ninth house, Karaka Rashi, folks. So ninth house is Bhagyasthana of the horoscope. So this is a very positive transit. Overall, this will result in increased income, healthy finances, and relationships. You will also be very fortunate in any undertaking that may come your way, yielding desirable outcome. Although Saturn's transit is on the negative side, it is not blocking any of Jupiter's positive impact. That's the biggest thing. However, transit will cause issues on the marital front. Do not ignore them. Okay. Significations positively affected by Jupiter during this transit. So ninth house, as I mentioned, ninth house is Bhagyasthana, which means fortune, mentor, virtual deeds, pilgrimage, tribute to gurus, spiritual inclination, long distance travel, etc. Okay, all the significations will be positively impacted. Health will be sound. Keep close to divinity during this transit, and that will improve your mental health conditions. Okay, because there will be some mental stress due to transit in the eighth house. Relationships within the family will improve, albeit spousal relationship will be mixed. Okay, relationship outside the family will progress in the desirable direction. Okay, long distance journey will be enjoyable during this transit. Develop good relationship with gurus. It's very important. That's the signification of the ninth house. Career, you will get lucky break in your career. If you're thinking of a change in career, this is a good time to do so. Finances, this transit is a profit-making transit for Jupiter. You will see gains returning in finance coming mainly through profitable associations. But be careful of Saturn's transit that may give some speed bumps during this transit. So overall, Karaka Rashi folks, this is a fantastic transit, Jupiter's transit, okay, and this will yield a lot of positive results. But as I mentioned before in my very first slide, right, the effect of transit is only 10 or 15%. Always take into account your dasha and antara dasha or bhukti. That's very important. So if you're having a very good antara dasha and the dasha, the effect of positive transit of Jupiter will be doubled up. Okay, and if it is otherwise, you need to be very cautious and also examine where Saturn is in your horoscope, etc. Okay. Good luck, Karaka Rashi folks. Effect of transit of Jupiter on Leo or Simha Rasi. Okay, for Simha Rasi, the nakshatras are Magha, Purva Falguni, and Uttara Falguni. Only the first pada of Uttara Falguni. Okay, if your nakshatras are Magha, Purva Falguni, or Uttara Falguni, your your Rashi will be Leo or Simha. For Uttar Falguni, only the first pada. Again, as I mentioned before, consider the effect of Jupiter in 3 segments. Segment 1 being April 13th to July 11th. Segment 2, July 12th to December 31st. Segment 3, January 2023 to April 22nd, 2023. Now, for Simha Rasis, Jupiter is transiting the 8th house. Okay, that is not a very favorable transit. Till now, the transit of Jupiter, the last 12 months was very good, which was the 7th house. But now it is transiting the 8th house. That's a very negative transit. Okay. Saturn, as such, is in your 7th house, which is a negative again. Okay. So, especially in segment 1 and segment 3, this is a very negative transit. However, the good news is that for in segment 2, although Jupiter's transit is very negative, Saturn's transit to 6th house is very positive. Okay. So during this particular segment, when it retreats back or retrogrades back to Capricorn, Saturn, you're still going to have a very good time. All right. But, the Jupiter is kind of a spoiler in segment 2. So overall, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to your 8th house. This is a negative transit. Overall, this will result in increased stress levels in career, finances, and relationships. Saturn's transit is also on the negative side, except April to July, as I mentioned. So for the next 12 months, you should be extra cautious. Do consult a good astrologer for remedial measures. Now, the significations that are negatively affected by Jupiter for this Rashi, the 8th house significations. 8th house is Ayusthana, which is basically deals with longevity, termination of longevity, which is death, and obstacles, hidden ailments, humiliation, discontinuity, research, occult practices, hidden treasure, etc. These are all the significations of 8th house, which will be negatively impacted by Jupiter's transit. Health, expenses related to health issues will go up. Take care if you have an existing ailment. Do not spend on big events during this transit, as it may affect your health adversely. Okay, this is specifically applicable to segment 1 and segment 3. You should be very cautious about engaging in big events during this transit. Okay. Relationships, conflict with family members is imminent during this unfavorable transit of Jupiter. Be careful with what you communicate to whom. Maintain low profile with a let go attitude. This is very important during this transit. Career, there is a good window between April, this April 13th to July 11th. This is a good window for you to make any career changes if you need to. But rest of the next 12 months are adverse. When I say rest of the next 12 months, I'm referring to basically segment 1 and segment 3. Do not make any major moves on career during this transit. Finances, avoid commitment to large expenditure during the next 12 months. Plan for unexpected expenditure that will also likely increase the stress levels. Consult a good astrologer for remedial measures for finance as well as health. So overall, a caution flag for Simha Rashis. Okay. Let's get to Kanya Rashi now, or Virgo. So the nakshatras that come under Kanya Rashi or Uttara Falguni, only the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pada. Okay, because if your first pada of Uttara Falguni, you're going to the previous Rashi, which is Leo. The 2nd nakshatra is Hasta. If you're in any of the Hasta pada, you're a Virgo Rashi. The 3rd nakshatra is Chitra, only the 1st and the 2nd pada. Okay, if you're 1st or 2nd padam, then you are Virgo Rashi. All right. So the Kanya Rashi or Virgo, very good news for you guys. Okay, for you folks with the Kanya Rashi. The Jupiter is transiting to 7th house, one of the best houses to transit actually for Jupiter. It's very positive. Saturn's existing position in Capricorn as such is very positive for you. So you're experiencing some good effects with that. But Jupiter's transit thus far was not that positive. So both two positives. Okay. However, when Saturn moves to the fifth house, it's slightly negative. But you don't have to worry so much because it's not blocking the very positive effects of Jupiter in segment 2. Similarly, in segment 3, both the positives, just like segment 1. 1 and 3 are identical. Okay. So in summary, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to your 7th house. 7th house is a very positive transit for you. Overall, this will result in increased income, healthy finances, and very good for spousal relationships. Okay. You will also be very fortunate in your career related undertakings that may come your way, yielding desirable outcomes. For most part, even Saturn's transit is on the positive side, thus further enhancing the positive effects of Jupiter's transit. So, what are the significations that are positively affected during this time period? 7th house is a kamasthana. Okay. 7th house signifies spouse, sexual partner, marriage, business partner, attainment of status, short travels, commercials, litigations, etc. So all these significations and the many more of 7th house are very positively affected by Jupiter's transit for Virgo Rashi folks. Health will be sound, show significant improvement. Activities will be agile and fruitful. Relationships within the family will improve, especially spousal relationship. Okay, relationship outside the family, within job circle, will progress in a desirable direction. Long and short journeys will be enjoyable during this transit. Career. This is a very, very good transit for a career, from a career perspective. I'm sure you're already experiencing some good results in career, but this is going to further enhance. So expect job promotions within the next 12 months. You're definitely going to move upwards in your job. You'll get lucky break in your career. If you're thinking of an upgrade or a change, this is a fantastic time to do so. All right. Finances. This transit is a profitable transit for Jupiter. You will see gainful returns in finances coming mainly through profitable associations, travel, and career. Okay. This is also a good time for long-term investments in real estate, like, in real assets such as gold and real estate, etc. So really good luck to Kanya Rashi or the Virgo Rashi folks. This is a fantastic transit of Jupiter's, and you're going to have a very, very good time the next 12 months. Okay. Now, effect of Jupiter's transit on Tula or Libra Rashi. Okay, the nakshatras that fall under Libra Rashi or Tula Rashi or Chitra, only the second and third pada. Okay, because the first and second pada is already there in the previous Rashi, which is Virgo. Swadhi, any of the padas, and Vishaka, only the first, second, and third pada. Okay, these are the nakshatras that come under Libra or Tula Rashi. Once again, folks, you have to consider the effect of Jupiter in 3 time segments. Okay, segment 1 is April 13th to July 11th. Segment 2 is July 12th to December 31st, 2022. Segment 3 is January 2023 to April 22nd, 2023. The effect of segment 1 and 3 is exactly the same. However, the effect of segment 2 can be different. But in this case of Tula Rashi, right, Jupiter's Rashi, rather transit, is to the 6th house, okay, which is considered very negative. So Tula Rashi folks, this particular transit of Jupiter is not a positive transit. And Saturn as such is transiting your 5th house. So that's also not a positive one. So overall, it's a big caution flag for Tula Rashis. You should exercise a lot of caution. Consult a very, very good astrologer for remedial measures. I would say, as I mentioned, just to summarize what I mentioned, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means transiting the 6th house. This is a negative transit for you. Overall, this result will increased Your stress levels due to health and relationships transits. Saturn's transit is also negative. So for the next 12 months, be extra cautious, low profile. That's very important. So what are the significations that are negatively affected by Jupiter during this transit? Sixth house is a rogasthana, which means disease, wounds, theft, enemies, loans, debts, quarrels, legal issues, obstacles, pain, cruel deeds, etc. Right? Health expenses related to health issues will go up. Take extra care if you have an existing ailment. Do not spend on big events during this transit. Low profile, low profile, low profile are very important, right? Relationships, pay extra attention here. Conflict with family members is imminent during this unfavorable transit of Jupiter. Be careful with what you communicate to whom. Less is more. Maintain low profile and have a let go attitude. Very important. Career in the next 12 months, do not make any major career moves. Hold on well to what you have in your pocket. Be diplomatic in challenging situations during this transit. Finances, avoid commitments to large expenditure during this next 12 months. Balance your finance portfolio. This is very important. And do not sway to extreme decisions. Plan for unexpected expenditures, okay? Consult a good astrologer for remedial measures for career, relationship, finance, and health. So overall, not a very good news for Tula or Libra, Rashi folks. However, if anything, the next transit of Jupiter is going to be extremely positive. But for the next 12 months, be very cautious and do consult a good astrologer. All right. Vrishika Rashi or Scorpio Rashi. For Vrishika Rashi, the nakshatras are Vishakha, only the fourth padam, okay? Anuradha, any padam, and Jyeshtha, any padam, right? These three nakshatras, that is Vishakha, only the fourth padam, Anuradha and Jyeshtha, they fall under Scorpio Rashi, okay? Again, the effect of Jupiter's transit should be considered in three different segments. Segment 1 is April 13th to July 11th. Segment 2 is July 12th to December 31st. Segment 3 is January 2023 to April 2023. So the effect of segment 1 and 3 will be the same. However, there is a change in segment 2. So for Tula Rashi, for the Scorpio Rashi, or Vrishchika Rashi, it's a mixed news. Okay, first of all, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to the fifth house, right? This is actually a very positive transit. But however, if you go back to my first slide where I explained to you, when Jupiter transits to a positive Rashi, we have to also look at the houses that block that positive elements. Okay. Saturn, unfortunately, is transiting to your fourth house. So it is blocking the positive effects of Jupiter. Okay. So this is not a good thing. However, you can consider this as at least in the second segment when Saturn transits back to Capricorn, you're going to have some positive news. All right. So between July and December, you may have some very good feelings, but April to July is very negative, and so is January to April. So the good effects of Jupiter, unfortunately, is being blocked by Saturn for you. So the significations that actually positively affected by Jupiter, or fifth house is Putrasthana, so progeny, children, learning, higher education, intellect, scholarship, speculations, even performing arts, etc., right? And inclination of mind. These are all positively affected by Jupiter. However, these, again, I have to repeat this, that the positive effect of Jupiter is being blocked by negative transit of Saturn. All right. Health, I think the continued attention to health will be needed, specifically in segment 1 and 3. Okay. You will be responsive to treatment. However, take extra caution if you have an existing ailment. Relationships, conflict within family members may be resolved, but in a subdued way because of the block. Okay, be careful with what you communicate to whom. Career, career aspects will hold well. There will be gains from unexpected changes in job scenarios. Finances will ease out. Gains will come through. Dues will be paid back. Property matters may seem to be profitable, but could be deceptive. So, finance also be a little bit cautious. Okay, some things may appear to be good, but they may be blocked. All right. So overall, mixed news for Scorpio Rashi. Effect of Jupiter on Dhanur's Rashi or Sagittarius Rashi. So the nakshatras that come under Sagittarius Rashi are Mula, Enipada, Purva Ashada, Enipada, and Uttara Ashada, only the first pada. Okay. So these three nakshatras come under Sagittarius Rashi. Keep in mind that if you're Uttara Ashada, only the first pada comes under this Rashi. Again, I'm repeating this for every Rashi because if you're listening to only one Rashi, then you should know how the effects of Jupiter are. The effect of Jupiter is in three segments. Segment 1 is April 13th to July 11th. Segment 2 is July 12th to December 31st. Segment 3 is January 23rd to April 22nd, 2023. So in summary, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting the fourth house. This is a negative transit. Okay, overall, this transit will result in increased expenditure on property-related matters and search for happiness. However, the good news is Saturn's transit for the at least half of your 12 months, which is segment 1 and segment 3, is quite positive. So this will help you overcome the negative impact of Jupiter's. So this is where Saturn is actually, in a way, it is uplifting Jupiter's negative transit. So looking purely at Jupiter's negative transit significations negatively affected by Jupiter, it's a fourth house, it's a Sukhasthana, happiness, home, mother, inherent property, house, vehicles, real estate in general, all those things, or overall happiness, all those things are negatively impacted by Jupiter. Health will need some attention. Women in middle age should get mammogram checked. I think this is very essential. One of the fourth house significations. Pay attention to diet. Any non-emergency surgical procedure should be scheduled after January 2023. Okay. Relationship within the family will be mixed relationship. However, you may gain support from family members on key concerns. Relationship outside the family will progress in the direction only to stall abruptly sometimes. Okay. Career will grow well until July and then seem to stagnate until the end of the year. It will pick up very well from January 2023. Avoid making negative or rather making changes to career in segment 2 because that may have a very negative impact because both Saturn and Jupiter are negative. So this segment, be cautious. So overall, I would say that, in terms of finance also, this transit will give you a mixed result. Big speculations need to be avoided. Gainful returns in finances coming mainly in segment 1 and 3 needs to be guarded well in segment 2. Okay, this last statement is very important. Okay, whatever you're gaining here, you should guard well here. Okay, that's very important. So overall, Dhanu Rashi folks, the good news is that Saturn is in a very positive, transit at this time in Capricorn. Sorry, in Capricorn. So that's a good. The third house is very good. Okay, not in Capricorn. I'm sorry. This in Kumbha when it transits. Okay, in April, it's very positive because you're coming out of your Sadhisati. Okay, but in this middle segment, it retrogrades back to Capricorn. That is the time you need to be very, very careful again. Okay, because Saturn, when retrogrades back to Capricorn, it is essentially telling that I have some unfinished business. Okay, in a negative way. So be cautious in this segment. Again, when it transits back to Kumbha, it's very positive. So the negative effect of Jupiter is neutralized to a great extent. That's for Dhanu Rashi. So the effect of transit on of Jupiter on Makara Rashi, which is basically Capricorn. If you're a Capricorn Rashi, you are Uttarashada Nakshatra, which is the first, second, and third pada, okay? Or your Shravana, any pada, or your Dhanishta, only the first and second pada, okay? If your moon is in this Rashi Capricorn, okay, or Makara, then you belong to one of these three stars, okay. So the overall effect of the transit, again, it needs to be considered in three segments of time period in the next 12 months. The first segment is April 13th to July 11th, 2022. The second segment is July 12th to December 31st, 2022. The third segment is January 2023 to April 2023. Okay. So what is in summary? In summary, Jupiter's transit to Pisces for this Rashi means it is transiting to your third house. This is a very negative transit for you. Okay. Overall, this transit may bring trouble to you from unexpected directions that will result in increased stress levels in career, finances, and relationships. Saturn's transit is also on the negative side. That is what is the bad news here. Okay, because you are in Sadesati. Okay, so the next 12 months, be extra cautious. Do consult a good astrologer for remedial measures. So purely from Jupiter's perspective, what are the significations negatively affected by Jupiter? Jupiter in the third house is supposed to be the worst position that it can be. Okay, it's a bandhusthana, siblings, entrepreneurship, courage, endurance, hobbies, talent, own business, etc., or some of the significations of the third house that are negatively impacted. Health expenses related to health issues will likely go out of control. Take extra care if you have an existing ailment. Okay, special attention to diet and medication is needed. Relationship conflict with family members again is imminent during this unfavorable transit, especially with siblings. Okay, arguments will ensure often within the family. Be careful with what you communicate to home. Maintain low profile with a let go attitude. If you're single, you will need to wait at least another 12 months to pursue a life partner. Any relationship in the next 12 months will not produce desirable outcome. Okay. Career, you will likely be a victim of internal conspiracy in a job environment. In a conflicting situation, you are likely to be overpowered in the job environment. Maintain low profile and do not change jobs at least until April 2023. Finance, avoid commitments to large expenditure during the next 12 months. Plan for unexpected expenditure that will also likely increase your stress levels. Consult a good astrologer for remedial measures and finances and health. Okay. So overall, it's a caution flag for Capricorn Rashi. This particular next 12 months, not much positivity is going on. So please do consult a good astrologer. Okay. Effect of Jupiter's transit on Kumbha Rashi or Aquarius Rashi. Okay. The nakshatras that come under this Rashi or Dhanishta, only the third and fourth pada. Okay. Satavisha, any pada, and Purva Bhadra, which is the first, second, and third pada. So these are the three nakshatras that come under this Rashi, which is Kumbha Rashi or Aquarius. So if your moon is in Kumbha or Aquarius, then this applies to you. First, let's talk about Jupiter's transit. Okay, Jupiter is transiting to the second house. It's a very, very positive transit. Okay, no doubt about it. However, as you know, you're already going through Sadesati because Saturn, when it transits to Kumbha, right, in April, is actually a negative one because it is Sadesati, right? It's the right, you're smack in the middle of the Sadesati, right? And what it's going to do is that, however, it is not blocking the very positive transit. Okay. But what is happening is in segment 2, right? That is between July 12th and December 31st, Saturn is retrograding back to Capricorn, which is actually the 12th house. And as I said in my very first slide, when Jupiter transits to a very positive house, second house, if there is a graha in the 12th house, it will block the positive impact of the second house. Okay. So in effect, it is blocking the positive effect in segment 2. Okay. Again, you'll feel the relief in segment 3 when Saturn, although you're in the Sarisati, the very positive effect of Jupiter will show. Okay. So there is some mixed messages here for Kumbh Rashi folks. In summary, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to second house. This is a very positive transit for you. However, take note of segment 2. Saturn will be blocking Jupiter's positive effect when it retrogrades back to Capricorn. Overall, the transit will provide some relief to you from what you've been through in the past 12 months. Significations that are positively impacted by Jupiter's move to second house. Second house is a Kutumbha sthana, blood relations, liquid assets, speech, sacred learnings, intake, etc. All those things will be positively impacted by Jupiter's transit to second house. Health will improve quietly. It is highly recommended to follow a very healthy lifestyle during this. Meditating, yoga as a daily routine is highly recommended during this transit. Relationship with family members will be smooth. Avoid arguments over communication with family members. Okay. Career will grow well, albeit with hard work. Okay. Recognition will also need some effort, but it will come through. It will pick up very well from January 2023. Avoid making career changes in segment 2. Okay. Finances. The transit is a stabilizing transit for you from the perspective of finance. Big speculations need to be avoided. Gainful returns in finance coming mainly in segment 1 and 3 needs to be guarded well in segment 2. So in this segment 2, be cautious about some of the gains you may get in segment 1. So overall, again, somewhat of a mixed message for Kumbh Rashi, but the transit of Jupiter to the second house is indeed very positive, albeit being blocked by Saturn in segment 2. Okay, the last but not the least, this is the transit or the effect of Jupiter's transit on Meena or Pisces Rashi. So if your Rashi is Pisces, if your moon is in Pisces or Meena Rashi, your nakshatra is Purvabhadra, only the fourth pada, or any pada of Uttarabhadra or any pada of Revati. Okay, if your nakshatra is any of these three, you're in Pisces. Okay, but take note that if you're Purvabhadra, only the fourth pada comes under this transit. Once again, to repeat, the effect of Jupiter's transit needs to be considered in 3 segments. Segment 1 is April 13th to July 11th, 2022. Segment 2 is July 12th to December 31st, 2022. Segment 3 is January 2023 to April 22nd, 2023. Overall, Jupiter's transit to Pisces means it is transiting to your first house. This is actually a negative transit for you. Overall, this will result in increased expenses relating to moving from place to place. You may also have some kind of a relocation or delocation. Okay, but Saturn's transit in segment 2 actually is favorable to Kumbh Rashi. It is transiting to your when it retrogrades back to the Capricorn, it is transiting to your 11th house, which is positive, which is the current transit anyway, where Saturn is sitting, right? It's a positive transit. So that you will experience some positivity in second segment. So purely from Jupiter's perspective, the significations that are negatively affected by Jupiter, first house is Swayamsthana, which means the self, the physical health, self-happiness, overall success, overall social status, fame, character, appearance, wealth, etc. All these significations are negatively impacted by Jupiter's transit to Meena Rashi. Health will need some attention, but no major issues. Hospitalization expenses may come into play, but nothing very serious. Okay. Pay attention to diet. Any non emergency surgical procedure should be scheduled only after April 2023. Relationships within the family will be mixed. Pay attention to some hidden enemies within the family. And that may turn against you on key decisions. Okay, so career will go slow until end of this year. It will pick up in January 2023. Avoid making too many career changes during this transit. This transit will give you mixed finances from an overall wealth perspective. Big speculations need to be avoided. Avoid non-traditional private investments, as you're likely to get cheated in potentially in the next 12 months. Okay, if you see any profits on paper, convert them as soon as possible. So overall, Meena Rashi folks, be careful, okay, because Saturn's transit to Kumbha is essentially you are entering into Sadesati. Okay, this is the first leg of Sadesati, so be very careful. And Jupiter's transit to the first house is also not a positive. You will get again some relief when Saturn retrogrades back to Capricorn. Okay, but again in segment 3, it will be in full effect, the Sadesati as well as the negative transit of Jupiter. Overall, be cautious, consult a good astrologer. All right. So here we come to a conclusion of the effect of Jupiter on all the 12 rashis. Again, to summarize, Jupiter's transit to Meena that's happening on April 13, 2022 and lasts until April 23rd, 2023 is a welcome transit. Since Meena Rashi is also the Rashi owned by Jupiter, it's very much like oneself coming to one's own home after a long travel, right? However, the effect of Jupiter's transit to Meena Rashi should be considered relative to the Rashi that moon is located in your individual horoscope. Also consider the transit of Saturn. As I already told you, the Saturn's transit is going, it's coming to Kumbha Rashi in segment 1, and then it is retrograding back to Capricorn for a good 6 months, and then it is coming back to Kumbha. So how it affects Jupiter's transit, that needs to be examined very carefully for the next 12 months and apply that accordingly. Okay. Always consider a good astrologer for proper guidance, this to lead an intelligent life. Okay. So if you need to reach me, you know where I am. And also, if you do like this video and if you think you have benefited from this video, please click on the subscribe button for more useful videos, and also the like button. And also, please don't forget to share the link to this video with your family members. So overall, I would say hopefully this transit brings positive results to you. Good luck for the rest of the next 12 months. Namaste.